Hello, everyone. So a pleasant afternoon to our students of the Nursing Informatics. So first and foremost, welcome to our week number 4, okay, for the Nursing Informatics special online, of course, summer term. So with that, we would like to, of course, introduce again our instructors. So Sir Sanyo, of course, we have Ma'am Campbell and Ma'am Muhibulta. And hopefully you are in good condition right now. Okay, so for this session, we're going to have a very interesting session about, of course, the technologies that we are using in the nursing profession. Okay, so but before that, let me give you an overview of what we need to submit for this particular task. Okay, so the video that you viewed earlier is one of my favorite videos from Apple Incorporated, and the title of the video is Better. Okay, now that we are in this kind of pandemic, and I know you students are having a lot of adjustments. I do understand that. So I think for us also instructors, we are having a lot of adjustment. But guys, if you're going to take a look at what inside our hearts, the core of our hearts, we really want, of course, to make everything better. Not only in terms of the environment that we are working on right now, but of course in terms of delivering you quality instructions. Okay, so we are not perfect. There's no university that's not perfect, and there's no course that's really perfect, but we are aiming towards giving you, of course, uh, being better, no? So being better in what we do. Okay, so this is a rundown of the tasks that we need to accomplish for week 4. Okay? And you know what, guys? We heard all your clamors, we heard all your comments at the recent survey that was posted in the Canvas. And we really feel all your or your suggestions, and as much as possible, we want to integrate that to what we are doing now here at, of course, at the Nursing Informatics. Okay, so at this point, okay, so here are the tasks that we need to accomplish. Actually, guys, every week we are doing 5 tasks, 5 set of tasks. And for this week, week 4, from June 29 to July 4, so we will independently study the following modules. Okay, internet and mobile computing in nursing. It's very interesting. We have incorporating evidence and policies in nursing informatics, and standardizing healthcare data and terminologies in terms of nursing informatics practice. We will be, of course, discussing some issues will be related to telehealth. So that's your task number 1. So if you have any questions, you can ask your instructors or your assigned advisors for any questions that you might want. So here in our chat box, okay, so I want everybody to be interactive also. As we go along with the discussion, you can ask several questions. Okay, so guys, can we try that? Can you say hi at our Zoom group chat? Okay, very good. Wow. So yeah, so let's make it more interactive, guys, no, so that we can feel your presence. You can also feel our presence. So thank you very much for those who said hi, no. Okay, so very good. So task number 1, independently study the following modules for week 8, 9, and 10. So for task number 2, you need to attend synchronous sessions at Zoom, just like what we're having right now. O kaya naman, you can view the recording later on if your connection is not that stable. Okay, so as you can see, we have less problems as of the moment, because during the initial attempt for registering at Zoom, a lot of students are using their personal email. Pero ngayon, okay, so there are only 2 students na mali yung ginamit na email, but we reach out to them. Okay, so very good, guys. So from 10% to 7 problems with Zoom. So right now, we reduce that to only 2 students who are having problems registering at Zoom. So please, guys, at the link, register at the link where your section is located. Okay, so that's number 2. Task number 3 is answer the multiple choice questions. Guys, a lot of you I know are having some sort of disappointment in terms of their scores at the MCQs. But guys, the real purpose of our multiple choice question is for you guys to assess yourself. Okay? 'Di ba? Kaya nga ang reason, the reason why we're having this is for you to learn. And sometimes, so if you didn't get the concept, okay, so there's another try for that. And that is to self-assess. So sabi nga ni Socrates, know thyself. So if, for example, you scored very low, you can try again. You take a look at the modules. What are the things that we need to understand? Okay, and task number 4, we posted their open-ended questions. You can just comment. You can just comment on every question that we posted for week 8, 9, and 10. Why, guys? What is our purpose for this one? To make sure that you are logging into your Canvas. Here in virtual mode, we don't have absences, right? Because we are in virtual mode. And one way for us to identify if you are active in class is are your responses at our discussion board, right? So for example, if you fail to attend the Zoom, and we do understand that some of you have difficulty in terms of data, so you might want to log in at Canvas and participate in a discussion board. You just post there your comments. So that's enough for us to identify that you're still active on our course. And for the last task, to submit the answers to the following questions. We're very much happy on the submissions that we receive. Okay? And dahil super, of course, dami ng sinubmit. So hopefully within this week, we can analyze everything and send you the result of your course task. No? So, but for this week, you only need to answer 2 questions. Okay. So list down 5 government URLs in the Philippines ending in gov.ph and provide a brief extension of the agency. Just simple as that. For us to be aware that there are some websites that are uh, for government and the extension is .gov.ph. For example, for Our Lady of Fatima University, our extension is .edu.ph because we are an educational institution. For most of the websites, the extension is .com because .com pertains to computer. Okay? .net refers to internet. .gov meaning it's a government website, and .edu it's a website that has something to do with education or education institutions. Okay, so for this course statute, you just need to list down 5 websites that ends in .gov.ph. So meaning that is a government website in the Philippines, and just give a brief description of the agency. Okay, and number 2, you just need to visit a link, okay, and answer the question, what is the telehealth project, study, or initiative of the university and and research development center that we consider most relevant? So the words would be 200 to 300 words. Guys, 200 to 300 words, these are very few, right? So these are very few. We just need to know your pulse regarding what which among the telehealth project that we are working on with of course with um, institutions abroad do you think is the most appealing to you guys? Okay, so as simple as that, just only 2, of course, questions. Okay, so is that okay, guys? If that's okay, so kindly click on the emotion icon, okay, and click thumbs up. Let's see. Okay, yan. Okay, so let's click thumbs up for that. Okay, so for this afternoon session, we will be having a very interactive session. Okay, because this set of topics are some of the topics that I really want to explore on, especially when I was a student way back at Our Lady of Fatima University. Okay, so yon. And I think one of the most notable, no, understanding for the different topics that we're going to discuss this afternoon would be, of course, the challenge of information explosion. Okay, guys? So when we say information explosion, it has something to do with that phenomenon wherein the amount of technical information is being doubled every 2 years. So meaning, compared to 2 years ago, we have more information now as compared to two years ago. So for example, when I took the board exam, guys, in 2005, I know and I need to admit that the board exam is quite easy. Why? Because there are less topics that I need to review. And considering that I'm a graduate of Our Lady of Fatima University, all the topics are discussed naman po. And there are very few topics that I need to learn. For example, in terms of community health nursing, medical surgical nursing, there are very few diseases during that time, way back in 2005. But right now, for you guys, no, so you will be graduates after several years, and I need to admit that you have lots of information that you need to absorb, right? Kasi for example, before wala pa kaming SARS. Before wala pa kaming COVID. Okay? So wala pa kami ng mga ganyang mga sakit na ngayon lang naglalabasan. MERS-CoV, yung mga something na ganyan, wala pa kami noon before. So that is information explosion. So meaning, as compared to the last 2 years, the amount of technical information is being doubled every 2 years. No? So we have lots of things that we need to learn at present as compared to several years ago. Okay, nag-agree ba ang ating mga instructors? Nag-agree ba? Tama, no? So, di ba, ang bilis lang ng board exam natin noon. Pero ngayon, for our students, I think they need to learn a lot of things and a lot of diseases, especially those emerging diseases. Okay, so when I did my research, okay, so I know you will agree on this. The English word today is several times much higher than the time of Shakespeare. More than 3,000 books are being published daily. And take a look at this one. A supercomputer will soon be exceeding the capability of the human mind. Okay, and that is happening already. So for example, if I'm going to give you 6-digit numbers and you're going to multiply that into 6-digit numbers, so you will take some time before you can compute that. But right now, because of computers, just like for example, you have the simple calculator, it's very much easy for you to compute for that. Okay? So it's very much easy for you to compute for that. And the amount of new information is doubling every 2 years, just like what I specified earlier. And right now, guys, so we have what we call artificial intelligence. So meaning, if before, computers needed humans to understand. So for example, to make decision or decision support system, right now, some computers can do decisions on their own. Right? So for example, you are visiting a certain website. So sometimes there will be a pop-up. So do you need assistance? And when you chat, when you input your chat for that particular feature, as if you are talking to a real human. But the thing is that is only artificial intelligence, right? So for example, in terms of temperature, so in some hospitals, if the computer senses that the temperature is getting cold, some hospitals is equipped with this device that it can regulate temperature. So meaning, the computer is making decisions based on the algorithm that is inputted to them. So we call that AI. Again, guys, what is AI? Guys, what is AI? You can unmute yourself. What is AI, guys?
Artificial
Artificial
intelligence.
Artificial
intelligence.
intelligence. And you know what? Some of you are using Apple.
Intelligent.
Yeah, so in Apple, who is that virtual assistant? Who is that virtual assistant on Apple?
Siri.
Very good. So
Siri.
Siri, how
Siri
about
po.
Si
yes,
Siri
how
po.
about ang daming naka-Apple, no? Okay, so how about for Microsoft? Who's the virtual assistant? Let me see. Who's the virtual assistant, guys?
Si Cortana.
Very good. Okay. So si Cortana, yung iba hindi kilala si Cortana. But of course, the first, no, yung well-published artificial intelligence or assistant is pinroduce ni Amazon. And do you know what is that, guys? Do you know what is that? That device that can assist you? What's that?
Hindi. Hindi.
Who?
Alexa.
Alexa.
Alexa. Very good. And guys, we have a very important guest for today. Okay, so I want everyone to turn on your
Nandiyan si Alexa.
videos. I want everyone to turn on your videos as I introduce to you my assistant named Alexa. Ayan. Okay. So we're going to ask questions for Alexa. Okay. So you know what, guys? Here in my unit, everything is automated. Okay? And my assistant, Alexa, actually controls everything except for my emotion. Okay? So yon. So let's take a look. So for example, I can turn on and turn off the lights using Alexa. Okay, so as you can see here, sorry, I have the light here. Guys, I have the light. Can you see the light? And now I see the light. Ayan. Okay. So we have the light here, guys. So I will control the light using Alexa. Alexa, lights off. Alexa, lights on. Okay. And you know what, guys? I can also change the light, the color of the light by using Alexa. Okay. Alexa, light blue. So that's a blue light. And I can change it to white light. Alexa, light bright. Okay. Again, Alexa, light white. Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what went wrong.
Okay, ayan, ako. What went wrong ka dyan, Alexa? Okay, so that is Alexa. And I'm going to ask Alexa the date for today. Alexa, what's the date for today?
Today is Monday, June 29th, 2020.
How about, Alexa, what's the weather for today?
Currently, in Commonwealth, it's 89 degrees Fahrenheit with thunderstorms. You can expect more of the same today, with a high of 89 degrees and a low of 80 degrees.
Weh. Okay, so yun. Okay, another, I can ask Alexa to sing a happy birthday for those of you who are celebrating birthday.
Do this. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. And many more.
Okay. Alexa, I love you.
I'm flattered. Thank you.
Okay, so at this point, guys, I want you to type in your questions to Alexa. Okay? Sige, we will be choosing a question that we're going to ask for Alexa, guys. Okay, so you can type in your question for Alexa, the group chat, and we will try to ask it to Alexa. Okay? Sige, let's try, guys. Okay, huwag na kayo mahiya. Magtanong na kayo kay Alexa, guys. Nahiya kayo. Ano gusto nyo natin? Itanong natin. Tingnan natin kung maano. Alexa, what is 142 times 56?
142 times 56 is 7,952.
Isang bilis, di ba? Okay. So yun. Any questions from you guys for Alexa before we proceed? Okay. So unfortunately, Alexa cannot play Oh Well Have You Him at the moment. Okay, don't worry. I'm going to teach Alexa. Okay. So that she can play. Okay, tingnan natin. Sige, tingnan natin to Alexa. Do you agree with online virtual class? Okay. Alexa, do you agree with online class?
Here's something I found on the web. According to hubpages.com, comparing traditional and online classes is just one way of observing the effect that media technologies can have on the content they are used to communicate.
Okay. Alexa, what is love?
The Dalai Lama says love is absence of judgment.
O yan, absence of judgment. Guys, Okay, another. Alexa, what is the value of pi?
The approximate value of pi is 3.14159265358979323844626. Yowzer! This goes on forever. Achoo! Apparently, I'm allergic to numbers this large.
Okay, another. Alexa, what's the latest episode of One Piece?
There aren't any One Piece One Piece TV episodes with the most recent release date.
Okay. Alexa, how do you like Korean series?
This might answer your question. I know about 1,400 Korean TV shows including Guardian, The Lonely and Great God, Boys Over Flowers, My Love from Another Star, and Descendants of the Sun.
Okay, so this question, Alexa, will you be my girlfriend?
I like you as a friend.
Busted. First time ko na busted, guys. Okay, so can you play How You Like That by Blackpink? Alexa, can you play How You Like That by Blackpink?
This is Blackpink from Spotify. 보란 듯이 무너졌어 바닥을 뚫고 저 지하까지.
Alexa, stop. Okay. Alexa, who is the most handsome guy in the world aside from me?
Here's something I found on the web. According to hubpages.com, Akshay Kumar is the most handsome person.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so that is artificial intelligence, guys. Okay? So in the clinical profession, we have what we call clinical decision support system. We also have a lot of integration of technology, computers, and we call that the Internet of Things. And that is actually what we're going to discuss for this afternoon. Okay, so with that, guys, I hope you love our simple demonstration of artificial intelligence. And at this point, let us proceed with our first topic, and that is all about, of course, decision support system for nursing. Okay? Sige.
Now, let's discuss the clinical decision support system. But before we proceed with the topic, let me give you our objectives for this topic. At the end of this unit, the students are expected to discuss the clinical decision support systems, enumerate components of clinical decision support systems, cite key functions of clinical decision support systems, give examples of early clinical decision support systems, and identify policies and issues related to the practice of nursing informatics. Decision support systems are automated tools designed to support decision-making activities and improve the decision-making process and decision outcomes similar to artificial intelligence. Such systems are intended to use on enormous amounts of data that exist in information systems to facilitate decision process. It is designed to support healthcare providers in making decisions about the delivery and management of patient care. A CDSS program's goals may include patient safety and improve outcomes for specific patient populations, as well as compliance with clinical guidelines, standards of practice, and regulatory requirements. Within the complexity of today's healthcare environment, there is an increasing need for accessible information that supports and improves the effectiveness of decision-making and promotes clinical accountability and the use of best practices. The definition of CDSS is well explained by Wyatt and Spiegelhalter. They regarded clinical decision support system as an active knowledge system which uses two or more items of patient data to generate case-specific advice. It is typically designed to integrate a medical knowledge base, patient data, and an inference engine to generate case-specific advice. A clinical decision support system includes a set of knowledge-based tools that can be fully integrated with the clinical data embedded in the electronic health record. This is to assist providers by presenting information relevant to the healthcare problems being faced. The ideal CDSS is available at the point of care with quick real-time responses, requiring minimal training, easily integrated into the practice workflow, and is user-friendly. It should have a powerful search function that can access full and reliable information from existing knowledge sources. The following 5 elements are necessary but not significant for a real-time clinical decision support system. First is the integrated real-time patient database. This combines patient data from multiple sources. This is needed to provide context for results interpretation. Next is the data-driven mechanism. This allows event triggers into effect and activate alerts and reminders automatically. Example, for machines, normal value data are set into devices. Whenever data coming from the patient's condition goes beyond or below the normal values, the machine will trigger an alarm or notifications to the healthcare providers. Thus, interventions will be done to correct or treat the health problem. Knowledge engineer translates the knowledge representation scheme used in the system, so clinical knowledge in the system can be extracted and translated into machine executable logic. Next is a time-driven mechanism. This permits automatic execution of programs at a specific time to alert healthcare provider to carry out a specific function or ensure that action has been completed. Example would be medication administration or even time alerts for infusion pumps. Long-term clinical data repository are data collected over time from a variety of sources, allowing a longitudinal patient record. Included in the field of healthcare decision support are systems that support organizational, executive managerial, financial, and clinical decisions. Perrault and Metzger identified 4 key functions of CTSS in the healthcare field. One is the administrative. It encompasses decision processes for other than direct patient care delivery. And even if clinical in nature, such as quality improvement systems, are mainly used for strategic planning, budgeting, financial analysis, quality management, continuous process improvement, and clinical benchmarking. This function was able to support outcomes performance management by integrating operational data or the business side with the clinical data or the clinical side. Next is the managing clinical complexity and details. Keeping patients on research and chemotherapy protocols, tracking orders, referrals, follow-up, and preventive care would be managed. Next is cost control. Monitoring medication orders, avoiding duplication, or any unnecessary tests will help with the cost. Another important area of decision support is patient decision support. Given the opportunity, patients may become more engaged in self-care when patients, as well as clinicians, have the information needed to make better decisions. It supports clinical diagnosis and treatment plan processes, and promoting use of best practices, condition-specific guidelines, and population-based management. There were also the early clinical decision support systems. First would be the internist. It was a rule-based expert system designed at the University of Pittsburgh in 1974 for the diagnosis of complex problems in general internal medicine. It uses patient observations to deduce a list of compatible disease states. So this is based on a tree-structured database that links diseases with symptoms. Next is MySyn. MySyn was a rule-based expert system designed to diagnose and recommend treatment for certain blood infections. It was later extended to handle other infectious diseases. Clinical knowledge in MySyn is represented as a set of if and then rules with certainty factors attached to diagnosis. It was a goal-directed system using a basic backward chaining reasoning strategy, which may result in exhaustive depth-first search of the rules base for relevant rules through the additional heuristic support to control the search for a proposed solution. Next is CASNet, or Causal Associational Networks. It was developed in the 1960s and was a general tool for building expert system for the diagnosis and treatment of diseases. The most significant expert system application based on CASNet was CASNet glaucoma for the diagnosis and treatment of glaucoma. And last is DXplain. It is a decision support system which uses a set of clinical findings to produce a ranked list of diagnoses which might explain the clinical manifestations. DXplain provides justification for why each of these diseases might be considered, suggesting what further clinical information would be useful to collect for each disease, and list what clinical manifestations, if any, would be unusual or atypical for each of the specific diseases. The healthcare industry challenged three basic assumptions which strongly influence the development of decision support systems. First myth would be the diagnosis is the dominant decision-making issue in medicine. Clinicians depend on timely, reliable, and accurate information to make clinical decisions. Availability of such information depends on how data are collected, stored, and transformed into meaningful information. So, the diagnosis alone does not dominate the decision-making. Next, clinicians will use knowledge-based systems if the programs can be shown to function at the level of experts. It is important to remember that the clinical user's experience, knowledge base, and understanding of the current context of care are not replaced by, but rather supported in the decision-making process. Final decisions should always be made by clinicians who can accept or reject the CDSS information within the context of the existing healthcare situation. And the third myth, clinicians will use standalone decision support tools. CDSS is a tool system, not a rule system. As decision-making is optimized, compliance with current evidence-based guidelines increases. Choices for diagnostics or treatment are increasingly supported by evidence. By implication, these myths, which are gradually being overcome, partly contributed to the relative lack of success of DSS in clinical care. Policy is defined as a course of action that guides and presents future decisions. That action is based on given conditions and selected from among identified alternatives. Healthcare policy is established on local, state, and national levels to guide the implementation of solutions for the population's health needs. Policy decisions often establish the direction for future trends that impact informatics. The first health policy issue was nursing informatics as a specialty. In 1992, the American Nurses Association recognized nursing informatics as a specialty. Though attempts in 1989 to be recognized as a specialty, it failed. But political forces within ANA supported the request when it was repeated in 1992. The term nursing informatics first appeared in the literature in 1980s. It has constantly evolved, molded by the maturation of the field and influenced by health policy. Nurse informatics practice differentiates itself from other areas of nursing practice, but emphasizes its interaction with informatics disciplines such as mathematics, statistics, linguistics, engineering, computer science, and health informatics. Nurse informatics supports national efforts such as those outlined by the Pew Health Professions and Institute of Medicine to increase interdisciplinary education. To become a specialty, it was necessary for nursing informatics to show that educational programs are available to prepare nurses to practice in the field. The field of nursing informatics has slowly expanded since 1992, and it will be interesting to see how the current focus on IT impacts the growth of NI as a specialty. Health policy issue number 2. Nursing informatics practice. Nursing has experienced a number of shortages in recent history. The healthcare industry is headed for a major crisis in the nursing workforce. At the same time, the aging of baby boomers will cause increased demand for hospital services. In 2002, the American Academy of Nursing Commission on Workforce launched a multi-phase project to develop IT that will help support nurses in their day-to-day work, thereby reducing demand on their jobs. Given the average age of nurses are 45, technology devices would enable some nurses to stay in their careers longer. Patient safety is also a concern for nurse informaticists. Proposals to increase patient safety with the use of IT have been made by a variety of groups. The California Law of 1875, passed in 2003, applies pressure to hospitals to install IT to help healthcare providers reduce errors. Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, or HIPAA Act, was passed in 1996 and is intended to improve the public and private healthcare programs by establishing standards to facilitate the efficient transmission of electronic health information. Health policy issue number 3, telehealth and nursing information. Telehealth is defined as the use of electronic communication networks to transmit data or information that focuses on health promotion, disease prevention, diagnosis, consultation, education, and/or therapy. In one of its many forms, telehealth has been practiced ever since the advent of the telephone. Telehealth in patient care covers many areas, but can be divided into two distinct parts: the technology and the provider-client relationship. On the technology side are many different technologies, including advanced image and audio capabilities that ranges from high-resolution still images to sophisticated interactive teleconferencing systems. Technology is now available that allows a virtual simulation of tissues and blood flow, use of the internet to transmit the feel of a lesion, or even muscles and bones prior to surgery will happen soon. As part of its participation in the National Dialogue on Telemedicine and Telehealth, American Nurses Association on August 29, 1996 submitted preliminary comments to a joint working group convened by the Health Resources and Services Administration of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. American Nurses Association continues to develop a more detailed and comprehensive analysis of the broad range of issues relevant to the continued growth and development of telehealth. There have been various proposals made to amend the current state-based system to adapt to the increasing demands of telehealth. Of this, California State Senate Bill 1665 has advanced the farthest. It addresses some of the issues related to telehealth, for instance, by allowing for consultation services from an out-of-state practitioner, but leaves open many other issues related to provision of care other than consultation, including primary health services. Current evidence indicates that clinical decision support system can improve patient care quality, reduce medication errors, minimize variances in care, improve guideline compliance, and promote cost savings. Wider adoption of such tools will support clinical care decisions through the provision of additional and current information at the time and place of care delivery, while final decision authority will remain with the clinician. And that would be all. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much, Ma'am Campbell. Ma'am Campbell, do you have any message to our students, some sort of clarification or highlights?
Actually, sir, hello.
I
I would
sorry,
like.
akala ko si Alexa yung nagsasalita.
I,
Kaboses
Actually,
ni
that's my
Alexa.
part-time job. Anyway, hello guys, everyone. Have you understand the lecture? Please make a thumb sign if you did.
And they can ask questions anytime at the chat box, right?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
you could ask me. But then, syempre, I also have one question for you guys. So, since you have listen about the presentation, I would like to ask, okay, which organization or association has the biggest contribution in the healthcare policy? You could actually type in at the chat box the answer. Okay. What organization or association has the biggest contribution in the healthcare policy? Guys? Hello?
Okay, Ma'am Campbell, what's the answer?
The answer is the American Nurses Association. So from the time
Very
it became a specialty up until the last time, they are very active in nursing informatics. Sir.
HIPAA is the set of law, right? The
Yes,
HIPAA
yes, sir.
or yung
Yes, sir.
Portability Act. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So it's very sad kasi here in the Philippines we don't have like HIPAA in the United States. But right now we have a very generic policy and that is on data privacy.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Di ba?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Sige. So at this point, can we now proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Another topic, sir.
Sige. So let's proceed with another topic.
Our next topic is healthcare data standards. The ability to communicate in a way that ensures the message is received and the content is understood is dependent on standards. Data standards are intended to reduce ambiguity in communication so that the actions taken based on data are consistent with the actual meaning of that data. Before we proceed with the topic, let me provide you the objectives for this unit. At the end of this unit, the students are expected to define data standards in the healthcare profession point of view, differentiate syntax from semantics, enumerate categories of standards, cite organizations dedicated to standardization of healthcare data, describe the impact of standardizations of healthcare data, understand the basics of nursing minimum data set, correlate nursing terminologies and relevance to nursing practice, and identify components of advanced terminology systems in nursing. The healthcare field has a long history of establishing data standards. Data standards, as applied to healthcare, includes methods, protocols, terminologies, and specifications for the collection, exchange, storage, and retrieval of information associated with the healthcare applications, including medical records, medications, radiological images, payment and reimbursement, medical devices, monitoring systems, and administrative process. It is important, however, for nurses to understand the basic of standards. Key decisions must be made about how and when standards should be implemented to assure quality care. The categories of standards interoperability in healthcare depends on two important concepts. Syntax refers to the structure of communication, the equivalent of rules in spelling and grammar, while semantics conveys the meaning of communication, the equivalent of dictionary and thesaurus. It gives definition and explanations. The available healthcare standards today address both types of interoperability. Healthcare standards are categorized into 6. We have the data exchange messaging standards. These allow transactions to flow consistently between systems or organizations because they contain instructions for format, data, elements, and structure. Common standards includes HL7 for administrative data such as patient demographics or encounters, DICOM for radiology images, and NCPDP for electronic prescriptions. Next is terminology standards. These vocabularies provide specific codes for clinical concepts such as diseases, problem lists, allergies, medications, and diagnosis that might have varying textual descriptions in a paper chart or a transcription. Examples of terminologies are LOINC for lab results, SNOMED for clinical terms, and ICD for medical diagnosis. Next is document standards. These indicate what type of information is included in a document and where it can be found. A common standard in paper medical records is the SOAP, or Subjective, Objective, Assessment, and Plan format. The CCR, or Continuity of Care Record, provides a standard format for inter-provider communication, including patient identifying information, medical history, current medications, allergies, and a care plan recommendation. Next is conceptual standards. These allow data to be transported across systems without losing meaning and context. For example, the HL7 RIM, or Reference Information Model, provides a framework for describing clinical data and the context surrounding it. Next is application standards. This determines the way business rules are implemented and software systems interact. Examples including sign-on, which simultaneously logs a user into multiple applications within the same environment, and standards for providing a comprehensive way of viewing information across multiple non-integrated databases. The last is the architecture standards. These define the process involving in data storage and distribution. The Centers for Disease Control's Public Health Information Networks National Electronic Disease Surveillance System is an example. An emerging functional architecture is the National Electronic Health Record proposed by the Institute of Medicine and Health Level 7 commissioned by the HHS. Impact of clinical data standards. The comprehensive patient record accommodates the patient's movements among all locations where care is provided, such as inpatient, outpatient, and clinic settings. This allows the healthcare organization to conduct outcome analysis with comparable data. Instead of conducting manual chart reviews and relying on individual interpretation of narrative notes, the system provides semantically consistent data that can be analyzed. There are also unintended benefits. The improved charting has led to better charge capture, since charges are a function of documentation and not a separate activity. And by bringing various regions together to plan and design the system, staff have come to see each other as internal consultants who share best practices on policies and procedures, patient education programs, and preparation for accreditation visits. A planned single medication list per patient will cover inpatient and outpatient environments. It is expected to improve case management, prevent adverse drug reactions, and enhance patient satisfaction. Standards offer health IT developers, EHR vendors, and healthcare organizations the means to ensure health IT systems and devices can exchange data successfully. Standards have been created by a variety of healthcare organizations, including service delivery entities, regulators, vendors, and consultants. The following are standard developing organizations. The American National Standards Institute, or ANSI, serves as the U.S. coordinating body for voluntary standards activity. ANSI is the U.S. representative to the International Organization for Standardization, or ISO, and as such is responsible for bringing forward U.S. standards to that organization for approval. European Committee for Standardization, or CEN, works to develop a wide variety of standards in the area of healthcare data management and interchange. CEN standards are adopted by its member countries in Europe and are also submitted for harmonization with ISO standards. The International Organization for Standardization, or ISO, develops, harmonizes, and publishes standards internationally. ISO standards are developed in large part from standards brought forth by member countries and through liaison activities with other standard developing organizations. The Integrating the Healthcare Enterprise, or IHE, is an international organization that provides a detailed framework for implementing standards, filling the gaps between standards and their implementations. While IHE is not a standards body and does not create standards, It offers a common framework available in the public domain to understand and address critical integration needs. The Public Health Data Standards Consortium, or the PHDSC, is a national nonprofit membership-based organization of federal, state, and local health agencies, professional associations and academia, public and private sector organizations, international members, and individuals. Its goal is to empower the healthcare and public health communities with health IT standards that provide individual and community health. Typically, the standards developed involves technical committee that defines methods and groups organized around the communities of interest. Representing stakeholders in these development projects are clinicians, researchers, bioinformaticists, chief information officers, database administrators, information systems analysts, and project managers. In addition, special interest entities in public health, patient safety, and electronic health records work to ensure that the standards are relevant to practice in those areas. Information technology can have a positive impact on the quality and efficiency of today's healthcare system. In addition, large savings may be realized by moving from a paper-based system to electronic records. Data in electronic or digital form provides an efficient method of storing, retrieving, analyzing, and archiving data for student populations. Electronic records support the transformation of data into information and knowledge that can enhance the quality of nursing care. The use of a common vocabulary to gather data will assist in validating the contributions of school nurses to student health and educational outcomes. The Nursing Minimum Data Set is a current standardization effort. The American Nurses Association Steering Committee on Databases to Support Clinical Practice is involved in developing the NMDS. This set is described as the minimum data elements necessary for defining the cost and the quality of nursing care. The elements of the nursing minimum data sets includes the following. We have the nursing care elements, which includes the nursing diagnosis, nursing intervention, nursing outcomes, intensity of nursing care. While for the patient demographic element, it contains the personal identification of the patient, his date of birth, his gender or sex, race and ethnicity, and residence. While for the last element, which is the service elements, it contains unique facility or the agency numbers elements, including also the unique patient health record number, unique number of principal RN, episode encounter date, discharge or the termination date, and the disposition of patient or expected payer for this bill. A standardized nursing terminology consists of nursing concepts that represent the domain of nursing. A nursing terminology must include standardized nursing data that represent the essential building blocks for the nursing practice. Such nursing data are critical to the development of data sets that can be used for analysis and integrated with the data of other healthcare disciplines. The standardized nursing data sets might also serve as research data to advance the science of nursing practice. In 1991, the American Nurses Association, or ANA, created a committee to review nursing languages and to recognize those that had met with the committee's own criteria as potentially useful to support nursing practice. Since that time, the ANA criteria have evolved with the growing knowledge of terminology standards in the health informatics. The standardized terminologies are as follows. We have NANDA, or the North American Nursing Diagnosis Association. While ICD-CM codes describes a disease or injury, NANDA Nursing Diagnosis describe a patient's reactions to the disease and to treatment. Next is the NIC, or the Nursing Interventions Classification, is a standardized language for treatments that nurses perform. NIC was developed at the University of Iowa and information is published by MOSB. There is a section of that university's nursing website devoted to NIC and NOC. Speaking of NOC, NOC stands for Nursing Outcomes Classification. It is also developed at the University of Iowa, and it goes beyond the work of NIC toward classification of outcomes useful in clinical nursing. Other standardized nursing terminologies includes the OMAHA system. So the OMAHA system of nursing classifications was developed by the Omaha Visiting Nurse Association. It covers some of the same ground as the NANDA nursing diagnosis and incorporates the nursing minimum dataset. We also have the SABA's Home Health Care, the Home Health Care Classification of Nursing Diagnosis and Interventions, or HHCC, which was developed at Georgetown University, focuses on community health. Then we have the Unified Medical Language System, or UMLS, Meta-Thesaurus. The National Library of Medicine, UMLS Meta-Thesaurus, includes terms from NANDA, NIC, NOC, HHCC, and others. Next, we have the Clinical Care Classification, or CCC. The Clinical Care Classification System is a standardized coded nursing terminology that identifies the discrete elements of nursing practice. CCC provides a unique framework and coding structure for capturing the essence of patient care in all healthcare settings. Next is the Perioperative Nursing Datasets, or PNDS. It describes perioperative nursing practice with a subset of terms that specifically describe perioperative nursing diagnosis, nursing interventions, and patient outcomes in surgical settings from pre-admission until discharge. Next is the SNOMED-CT, or the Systematized Nomenclature of Medicine Clinical Terms, is considered to be the most comprehensive multilingual clinical healthcare terminology in the world. Next is the PCDS, or the Patient Care Dataset. Version 4 in 1998 contains a data dictionary and sets of terms and codes representing specific values of patient problems, patient care goals, and patient care orders. It was recognized in 1998 by the American Nurses Association as one of the vocabularies to be considered for use by nurses and is included in the National Library of Medicine's Meta-Thesaurus. Next is the International Classification for Nursing Practice, or the ICNP. It is a combinatorial terminology for nursing practice developed by the international nursing community under the sponsorship of the International Council of Nurses. Last is the Nursing Management Minimum Dataset. Data variables categorized into environment, nurse resources, and financial resources that are needed to inform the decision-making process of nurse executives related to leading and managing nursing services, delivery, and care coordination. The primary motivation for standardized terms in nursing is the need for valid, comparable data that can be used across information system applications to support clinical decision-making and the evaluation of process and outcomes of care. Concept-oriented terminology. The health informatics literature provides an evolving framework that enumerates the criteria that render healthcare terminologies suitable for implementation in computer-based systems. The relationship will be best described using the semiotic triangle. A single concept may be associated with multiple terms or synonymy. However, a term should represent only one concept. In order to appreciate the significance of concept-oriented approaches, it is important for nurses to understand the definitions of and relationship among things in the world, such as objects, his thoughts about things in the world or concepts, and the labels nurses use to represent and communicate thoughts about things in the world or terms. The following terminologies may be helpful to define relationships. First is concept. or thought or reference. It is a unit of knowledge created by a unique combination of characteristics. A characteristic is an abstraction of a property of an object or of a set of objects. Next is objects, or the referent, anything that is perceivable or conceivable. And last is the term, or the symbol. It is a verbal designation of a general conception of a specific subject field. A general concept corresponds to two or more objects which form a group by reason of common properties. To give you an example of a concept-oriented terminology, for example, the term is orange. We are now going to activate our concept depending on how we are going to use the term. So we can perceive and relate what it stands for. It can be either a fruit or a color. Within the concept of the high-level information model, there has been extensive development and refinement of terminologies for describing patient problems, nursing interventions, and nursing-sensitive patient outcomes. The main component of more advanced terminology systems is a concept-oriented terminology model for ontology, representing a set of concepts and their interrelationships. The components of advanced terminology systems for the nursing practice are as follows. We have the terminology model. It is a concept-based representation of a collection of domain-specific terms that is optimized for the management of terminology definitions. It encompasses both schemata and type definitions. Schemata incorporates domain-specific knowledge about the typical constellation of entities, attributes, and events in the real world, and as such reflect plausible combinations of concepts for naming a nursing diagnosis or problem. For example, pain. Pain may be combined with acute to make acute pain, or chronic to make chronic pain. Schemata may be supported by either formal or informal composition rules such as grammar. Type definitions address obligatory conditions that state only the essential properties of the concept. For example, a nursing activity must have a recipient, an action, and a target. Next is the representation language. Terminology models may be formulated and elucidated in an ontology language that represents classes. It is also referred to as concepts, categories, or types, and their properties, such as relations, slots, roles, or attributes, such as web ontology language. In this way, ontology languages or terminologies are able to support through explicit semantics the formal definition of concepts in terms of their relationships with other concepts. They also facilitate reasoning about those concepts. For example, whether two concepts are equivalent or whether one concept, such as vital signs. Vital signs is a generalization of another, such as temperature, pulse, and respirations, or what we call the TPR. Ontology languages are often used to support advanced terminologies. One example is the use of OWL to represent ICNP. Last is the computer-based tools. It is a representation language which may be implemented using description logic within a software system or by a suite of software tools. If you have any questions and clarifications about the topic, you can ask us through the chat box or you can ask your respective advisors after our session today. Thank you all for listening.
Okay, so that's quite a very lengthy discussion, guys, right? So that's a quite lengthy discussion. But of course, in the nursing profession, we have lots of languages. As well as, for example, in the nursing informatics, we also have different languages. So take a look at languages as our nursing lingo. For example, uh, if our patient is nasaksak, we don't call it a skin laceration or skin laceration. So for us nurses, we term that as skin integrity impaired, right? So for example, mataas ang presyon. We don't call it hypertension, but in our language as nursing, we call that cardiac output altered increase, right? So yun, so meaning, nomenclatures are very much important because these are the common terms uh, for a certain profession to understand one another. And that term might be different from the terms of other professions. So for example, there are different terms that only engineers will understand. There are terms that only educators will understand. There are terms that only nurses can understand. And in the purpose of the nursing profession, we are using our NDMS or Nursing Minimum Data Set and yung mga nomenclatures natin sa nursing. So in the Philippines, for example, we are using the NANDA. No? We are using the NANDA as one of our important documents pagdating natin sa nomenclatures in nursing. Okay? Tama po ba yan, Ma'am Campbell?
Yes, sir. Actually, not only NANDA, but we're also using nursing interventions classification sa kayo
Yes.
nursing outcome classification. Yung
Yes.
tatlo po na yun.
Yes. NIC and the NOC. NIC and NOC,
Yes.
right? How about
Yes,
for
sir.
psychology? I think for psychology, we are using a different language for psychology.
Yes, sir.
DSMB.
They have.
DSMB.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I think yes, sir.
The DSMB for criteria to categorize a client if he or she are experiencing some psychological problem. So meron tayong mga tawag doon na term na based doon sa doon sa nomenclature na yon. DSMB
Yes, sir.
criteria. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So NANDA, the NIC, the NOC,
And the NOC.
and the DSMB criteria for
Yes.
psychology.
Psychology.
Ayan. Napaka-exciting ng nursing talaga. Meron tayong, kumbaga, as if we're learning a different language. And all of these computer applications must correspond to the nomenclatures that nursing should have. Okay?
Yes,
So at this
sir.
point, Ma'am Campbell, what's our last topic?
Actually, the last topic, very common ito, sir, sa atin kasi we're all using it anyway. So, that's internet, sir, and mobile computing.
Okay. So that's, ayan. So this is one of my favorites.
I'm going to discuss to you today about the internet and the mobile computing in nursing under the role of technologies. First, let me give you the objectives for this session. At the end of this unit, the students are expected to understand the internet as to its definition, history, and technological background. Identify parts of an internet address and electronic mail addresses. Cite common domain names used on the internet. Enumerate common controls in web navigation. Comprehend major criteria in evaluating an internet site as a reliable source of health information. And recognize mobile computing and wireless devices as beneficial tools in the nursing profession. The Internet is a worldwide network of interconnected computer networks that operates using a standard set of communications. In contrast to older communication systems, the Internet was purposely designed to be highly decentralized and independent of the underlying physical media. Any communications network that can carry two-way digital data can also carry Internet traffic. Thus, Internet traffic flows through networks that uses conventional copper wire, coaxial cable, optical fiber, and radio waves. The Internet is named after the Internet Protocol, the standard communications protocol used by every computer on the Internet. The Internet can powerfully leverage the nurse's ability to find, manage, and share information. Never before in human history has such a valuable resource been available to so many people at such little cost. The conceptual foundation for creation of the Internet was significantly developed by three individuals in a research conference, each of which changed the way we thought about technology by accurately predicting its future. Vannevar Bush established the U.S. Military University Research Partnership that later invented the ARPANET, and his most direct influence on the development of the Internet comes from his first visionary description of an information system he called MEMEX, or an automated library system. Norbert Wiener invented the field of cybernetics, inspiring future researchers to explore the potential to extend human capabilities with interfaces to sophisticated electronics, such as the user interface studies conducted by the SAGE program. Next is the 1956 Dartmouth Artificial Intelligence Conference. This gave birth to the field of artificial intelligence and gave succeeding generations of scientists their first sense of the potential for information technology to be benefited by the human beings in a profound way. The conference crystallized the concept that technology was improving at an exponential rate and provided the first serious consideration of the consequences. Last is Marshall McLuhan, predicted the idea of the global village, a one world interconnected by an electronic nervous system, making it part of our popular culture before it actually happened. McLuhan chose the insightful phrase global village to highlight his observation that an electronic nervous system was rapidly integrating the planet. Events in one part of the world could be experienced from other parts in real time, which is what human experience was like when we lived in small villages. So how was the Internet born? Let's start with the very beginning. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched the first satellite Sputnik 1, beating the United States into space. This meant that the USSR could theoretically launch bombs into space and then drop them down anywhere on Earth. The American military then became highly alarmed. In 1958, US President Dwight Eisenhower appointed James Killian as Presidential Assistant for Science and created the Advanced Research Project Agency, or ARPA, to jumpstart the US technology and find safeguards against a space-based missile attack. The US military was particularly concerned about the effects of a nuclear attack on their communication structures, because if they couldn't communicate, they wouldn't be able to regroup or respond, thereby making the threat of a first strike by the Soviet Union more likely. ARPA established the Information Processing Techniques Office, or IPTO, in 1962 and appointed its first director, Joseph Karl Robnet Licklider. The mandate of IPTO was to extend the research carried out into computerization of air defense by the SAGE program to other military command and control systems, and help protect the US against a space-based nuclear attack. Licklider evangelized within the IPTO about the potential benefits of a countrywide communications network, influencing his successors to hire Lawrence Roberts to implement his vision in 1965. Roberts led the development of the network based on the new idea of packet switching discovered by Paul Baran, and a few years later by Donald Davis at the UK National Physical Laboratory. A special computer called an interface message processor was developed to realize the design, and the ARPANET went live in early October of 1969. The first communications were between Leonard Kleinrock's Research Center at the University of California at Los Angeles and Douglas Engelbart's Center at the Stanford Research Institute. The first network protocol used on the ARPANET was the Network Control Program. In 1983, it was replaced with the TCP/IP protocol developed by Robert Kahn, Vinton Cerf, and others, which quickly became the most widely used network protocol in the world. And in 1990, the ARPANET was retired and transferred to the National Science Foundation Network, or NSFNet. The NSFNet was soon connected to the CSNet, which linked universities around North America, and then to the EUNet, which connected research facilities in Europe. Thanks in part to the NSF's enlightened management and fueled by the popularity of the web, the use of the Internet exploded after 1990, causing the US government to transfer management to independent organizations starting in 1995. Standardized protocols enable the Internet to function. It can be treated as the standard language for the Internet. Protocols determine the following: data transmitted between two devices, signals and notifications within the devices, the type of error checking that will be performed, and how the data are compressed. The main protocols on which the functioning of the Internet are: Transmission Control Protocol or TCP is a standard that defines how to establish and maintain a network conversation through which allows computers to connect to a network and exchange data. It carries the task of breaking messages into small packets called datagrams. Internet Protocol or IP is considered as a lower-level protocol, which is responsible for making decisions on the packets and routing them. The main purpose and task of Internet Protocol is the delivery of datagrams from the source host to the destination host based on their addresses. Other protocols that are also used on the Internet are the following. We have the Hypertext Transmission Protocol or HTTP. It is an underlying protocol used by the World Wide Web, and this protocol defines how messages are formatted and transmitted, and what actions web servers and browsers should take in response to various commands. We also have the File Transmission Protocol, or the FTP, permitting users to send all types of electronic files over the Internet. It is a standard network protocol used for transfer of computer files between a client and server on a computer network. Since the Internet is composed of a vast network of computers, proper identification of computers and information sites must be made. Web addresses are also referred to as URLs, Universal Resource Locators. It can identify a specific machine, directory, and file of that machine. The anatomy of web addresses consists of HTTP, short for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, described as the transmission protocol that introduces a web document or directory. This protocol declares how the web browser should communicate with the web server, then sending or fetching a web page or document. www, or short for World Wide Web, is a global collection of documents and other resources, linked by hyperlinks and URLs. The domain name identifies the computer name, web server name, web name, or host name. The Internet Domain Name System, or DNS, permits users to give globally unique names to networks. Directory. The directory or folders in the web server that contains a group of related web pages within a website. The path typically refers to a file or directory on the web server. Sometimes the file name won't be specified, so a web browser will automatically look inside the folder for a file called index or default. A domain name is a unique reference that identifies a website on the Internet. Example, fatima.edu.ph. Fatima is the main domain name. .edu describes the domain as an educational site, and PH, as in Philippines, refers where the domain will be found. 4 directions and 5 basic techniques in web navigation. Nurses must be aware of these functions to ensure convenience in exploring the web. One of the directions is back. This direction is used to go back to the previous page. To use this, we can press the back button or right-click window and select back, or use keyboard hotkey Alt plus left arrow key. Next direction is forward. This direction will go forward to a new page after going back. To use this, we can press the forward button or right-click window and select forward. Or we could use the hotkey from your keyboard, such as the Alt plus right arrow key. Another is link. It is usually represented by a chain or an underlined colored word or words. In clicking this link, the user will be directed to a new page in reference with the topic. The last direction is jump. It means to select a new page from external source such as bookmark sites. And as per the techniques used during web navigation, terminologies include surfing. It means jumping ahead of the browser if the link is already loaded but the rest of the page is still lagging behind. Next is chains. After clicking several websites, a chain of internet pages are created and explored backward and forward. Next is reload, means refreshing the page to ensure that the latest copy is loaded. Another is stopping. It only means that the user could stop the loading process of a site anytime the user wants to. And last is restarting. The user can stop the connection and clicking the same link again to restart loading. With billions of web pages online, nurses could spend a lifetime surfing the web, following links from one page to another. Amusing perhaps, but not very efficient if one is seeking some specific information. Searching the internet requires part skill, part luck, and a little bit of art. Fortunately, a number of free online resources help with the hunt. These are the search engines such as Yahoo, Google, and Ask.com. Search engines are of two types. The first one is directories. They are good at identifying general information. A good example is the Yahoo directory. Another type is what you call the indexes. Identify text on the given criteria by searching contents of websites through the use of software and programs called robots and spiders that analyzes millions of web pages. Examples are Google and Yahoo search. One of the most popular uses for the internet remains the ability to send and receive electronic mail or email. The number of healthcare providers with email address is growing rapidly. Common providers are Yahoo Mail, Gmail, and Hotmail. Internet works by connecting computers using the same protocol. Therefore, all email addresses are using the same format. The username or the name of the owner of the address. Users can devise their own name based on the availability. Nurses must refer to their organizational policies on how to make an email address in an organization. The email provider or the organizational code denotes the email providers such as Yahoo Mail, Gmail, or Hotmail, or organizational code in conjunction with the organizational website such as at MuggleNet at Microsoft. Domain corresponds to the high-level domain names that was shown to you a while ago. The Health Summit Working Group has identified the major criteria to evaluate an internet site. Not all information on the internet are reliable, so nurses must be very particular on the type of addresses they are acquiring health information from. The criteria identified include the following. Credibility. It means we need to check the source of information and timeliness of the content. The source is one of the most important criteria to determine credibility. The sites should also state if the information provided has been subject to review and if so, describe the individuals and processes involved. Content. To help judge accuracy of the content, examine the hierarchy of events and presence of original sources. It should be accurate and complete. The disclosure. The purpose of the site should be clearly stated and the moderator of the site should be properly addressed. It requires that the site inform users about any collection of data about them while at the site and how that data will be used. The quality of links provided by the site is also very important. Links should be included so that users can verify content on the site and they should lead users to other reliable sources of information. The design refers to site accessibility and convenience of use. The design does not affect the quality of the content, however, it can have significant effects on the delivery and use of the information. Interactivity reflects presence of feedback and communication. It does not affect the quality of the content also, however, it is important to provide contact information and feedback options on the site. Last is caveats. A provision or warning should be provided to check the achievement of the site goals. Mobile computing in nursing provides valuable insights into how nurses are using mobile computing solutions at the bedside and how these solutions can best be used to solve existing workflow inefficiencies. Mobile computing makes it easy to stay connected no matter where you are. It's more than that. Gamers enjoy peer-to-peer interaction, while photographers can send immediate downloads and employees can telecommute from different time zones. Wireless devices and devices with wires almost perform the same functions, but wireless devices have many advantages over other devices with wires. It facilitates people to work in different places where they cannot take the devices with wires attached to them. We are using many electronic devices, but the use of wireless devices is making our life a bit easy. In wireless devices, the data is transferred in the form of electromagnetic waves, which are the main part of electromagnetic spectrum present in the atmosphere. Communication through wireless devices is known as wireless communication. Science has invented many electronic devices that are helping nurses a lot in their daily lives, one of which is computer, by which not a single company in this world is workable. But how great it will be if the invention is wireless. The wireless computer is known as laptop, which has become part of a normal human being now, and anyone can take it with him or her with all of their data stored in it. There are many other wireless devices like USB, cell phone, PDAs, or what you call the personal digital assistant or handheld computers and radios. With the help of USB, one can transfer the data from one place to another by taking that stick in his or her pocket. Cell phones have also become the most used wireless device by people in which the communication is done by using radio frequencies through different service provider stations. In conclusion, the Internet is a global system of interconnected computer networks that uses the Internet Protocol Suite to communicate between networks and devices. The Internet carries a vast range of information, resources, and services, such as the interlinked hypertext documents and applications of the World Wide Web, electronic mail, and file sharing. It's clear that we've not just entered the information age. Actually, we've exploded into it. Information exchange is critical to both the advancement of science and patient care, and the impact of the Internet in the medical field has been enormous. The use of the Internet can be beneficial to the nursing practice. However, we must all remember that much what we find there remains anonymous and subject to inspection or study. Our own critical thinking must be used to determine when and how best to use the available information and to evaluate the value and truth of what we read. Certainly, if what we find can nudge us toward being better health professionals, then the monthly cost of internet service and the time spent in connection with others is well worth it. That would be the end of this topic. Thank you all for listening.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma'am Campbell. Okay, so tama yung sinabi natin, ano. So, I mean, the information is really booming. And in informatics, we call that information explosion. Okay, so information explosion. Okay, so last thing, guys, before we end this session. So, your examination is scheduled on Sunday. So, that is from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Okay, is that correct? Yes. So we will be sending information with regards to your examination on how you can do it. So we consider a lot of things, your data, the possibility of technical difficulties, etc. But basically, so this is some sort of an exam that will be administered online for an hour. Okay? Don't worry kasi, for example, before, di ba, if we're having examinations, we usually have multiple choice questions and 4 items. But for nursing informatics, we reduce it to 2 options per question. So meaning, kung previously we have 4 items, meaning you have 25% chance of getting the correct answer. But for this one, for the examination, you will be having 50% chance of getting the correct answer because there will only be 2 choices. There will only be one Pinoy Pop superstar. Okay, so there will be 2 choices. So much more chances of winning. Okay, more chances of winning. And wait, there's more. The joke. So we're going to post instructions related to that. Okay. And mind, guys, that this session is not included in your midterm exam. So there are only two areas that we need to study. And these are the two sessions at Zoom that we had. Recording is available. We post that to our social networking sites. We post that at our Facebook, and we post that at our Canvas. So make sure that you study these two Zoom sessions, the first two Zoom sessions, excluding the orientation, because the topics will, the questions will be extracted, was extracted pala. Were extracted from them. Okay? Yung modules, yun na rin kasi yung content ng ating Zoom sessions. Okay? So you focus on what we have discussed during the Zoom session. Okay? And we want to see you again for the next session. So with that, thank you very much, our dear student, and stay happy and healthy. Bye-bye.